Good day, everyone. You're welcome to today's podcast, where we'll be diving into details of the oncoming UEFA Champions League final between PSG and Inter Milan. That is scheduled to hold on Saturday, 21st of May, 8 p.m. Nigerian time, I think 9 p.m. German time. That game would be happening in the at the Allianz Arena. And interestingly, this is I think the second time in very recent times that this the Champions League final will be held in the Bayern Munich Stadium, and they are not even there to they don't have the opportunity to win it. Basically, the last time they were there, it was against Chelsea, and they lost the finals on the they lost the game on the final day. So. We have very interesting panelists here today. Coco, Rotimi, Dami, Tema, and Tolu. Guys, welcome to today's podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having us.
Yeah.
So, in terms of like context, historical context, right? PSG have never won the most prestigious European title, which is the Champions League. So I'm sure they are very anxious to get their hands on this title. Um, they were in the finals, I think, in 2020. They lost the finals to Bayern Munich, I believe. Is it Bayern Munich? Yeah, Bayern Munich. And Inter Milan, they've won it about three times. Most recently in 2010. I think we remember that victory very well. And now my question to Dami, how much pressure is on PSG considering the fact that they've over the last 15 years they've spent a ton of money bringing in star-studded players like Kylian Mbappe, Neymar, Messi, and at this point all these players have moved on and they've gone back to basics. They now have a team. So how much pressure is on them to win the title on Saturday?
Okay, I don't think PSG is under any pressure to win the Champions League. I believe they've overachieved because I'm sure at the beginning of this season, when they lost to Mbappe, I'm sure they didn't even think in their wildest dream that they'll be in the final without Mbappe. The idea was for them to rebuild, and to see how they could progress from there. In the group stage, they were very very awful. I think they just barely, they barely qualified from the group stage. When the whole actual rebuild started, people were already calling for Luis Enrique his head already because of the poor
Yeah.
performance. So I think as of now, even if they just, they don't eventually get to win it, they won't be too harsh on themselves. They'll feel that we can regroup, and because we have like young players, we have players that actually want to play for this club, and they already have a pattern and a style that works for them, and they can come back next year and try again. So I think they're on lesser pressure, or the pressure is not too much on them for them to win it. That's my own opinion. Yep.
Okay, so now yeah, I'll go to the PSG fan in the house. Rotimi, what are your thoughts on what Dami just said? What's your take on that? That there's no pressure. There's not a lot of pressure on your team to win the UCL.
I think Dam is largely correct. Luis Enrique, when he got in 2023, the plan basically was for him to rebuild. And then, like Dami rightly said, Mbappe moved on. We sold Neymar, and then Messi left. And so basically, it was supposed to be a rebuilding season. And so we brought in Desiree Doué, we brought in Bradley Bacola from Lyon. And so it's largely, and then we got Dembele. So it's largely been a rebuilding season for us. However, what's happening now is we've won the league, we've won the cup, and so basically there's now a lot of hype. Plus, I mean, people are now getting superstitious here in France. When Marseille beat AC Milan in 1993, it also held at the Allianz Arena. So people are now saying that this is our year for the fact that, I mean, it's a French team against an Italian team, and then it's holding at the Allianz Arena again. And so people are saying this is our year, and then we're going to win the Champions League.
Okay. Tolu, or before I move on to the next question, I would ask you: do you think there is any sort of pressure on PSG to win the UCL? The first two panelists have said there is no pressure to win it this year. That they are in a rebuilding phase. But what are your thoughts on that? Do you agree or do you disagree with that?
I think I'll differ. There is a lot of pressure. It's like
when City was winning the Premier League and he was winning the Prem, and everyone knew, okay, Pep, you can do that. It still was like you have to win the Champions League. Everyone was like Pep has to win the Champions League to cement his caliber in England and his level. And until he won that, he tried to play it off as many times, but when he won the Champions League, you can see his tone change when he finally did it, and he was like, "Now I've completed the set." And for a club as massive as PSG, who want to be on the same pedestal with the Bayerns, the Real Madrids, the Barcelonas, you have to win the Champions League. And the last time you got to a final, you didn't make it. Now you're back in the final. You don't know when next you're going to be in this final. So there is a huge pressure because they're a big club, very big club. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm leaning. I think I'm on your side of the table. So, look, considering for me, my reason would be the fact that we spent so much. We've agreed that they signed Messi, Mbappe, Neymar over the years, just to name a few of them. So the fact that those players are not there today doesn't necessarily mean they are not under pressure. So Tema, I'd ask. Inter Milan, they are European giant house, of course, at least maybe not in recent time, but over historically they've been a European giant house. Do you think their European experience and the pedigree they have in European competition gives them a tactical or psychological edge going into this final on Saturday?
Uh, I I don't think so. All respect to Inter because you can't compare both teams when it comes to European pedigree. But in this season, this game, I really don't see Inter winning because I was taking a look at both teams, and if if you check the Inter team, the highest goal scorer in Inter is Calhanoglu with 5 goals all season.
Hmm.
And if you go to PSG,
What competition?
Bakola has 14 goals, 10 assists. Dembele 21 goals, 6 assists. There's goals everywhere. But with Inter, they've relied so much on their discipline, but I don't think that is going to be enough for them in this final. And I'm also a superstitious person as well when it comes to things like this. I think PSG, after losing that first final, this second time, it's just like how it was for Chelsea. Like when we lost the first final, coming back, you we were not supposed to win that game, but we won it. So I just think this is PSG's time. But
Yeah.
if you're talking about European pedigree, I agree with you. Uh, Inter, you can't write Inter off based on that. But I don't think it will be enough. I don't think so.
Wait, just to add to
So
what
cool.
Chema said,
Okay.
Martinez is the highest goal scorer and he has scored 22 goals this season already. So they have goals in them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
it's
okay.
a little bit different. Turam has 18 goals. They have goals in Inter Milan. So it might be on the other side of the divide as regards they don't have goals in them.
Okay. Okay. So, Coco, your thoughts on that? Do you think Inter Milan's past European triumph gives them that psychological edge because they know how to win a final? They've done it before. They've been there, done that. Do you think it gives them an edge, or do you think it doesn't matter?
Uh, it's good to put things in historical context, but it's what happens on the day that really matters. And I think the pendulum has slightly shifted to PSG because Inter are coming into the final with a lot of expectations now that they've lost the league and they've not gotten any trophies to show for their very good season. So I think that's like puts them slightly on edge. While,
Hmm.
like Tema said, the PSG team already getting to the finals in 2020. Some of those players from that team are still in the team. So, and on the Inter side, while they are like a European heavyweight, they don't have that team from 2010. So it's if you want to compare both teams, I would say the PSG team has a slight edge over the Inter Milan team.
Okay. So let's focus on let's quickly go through the path that led these teams to the final. Just I'm gonna go through this quickly. I have it written down somewhere. For PSG, they've knocked out Arsenal. Of course, we remember that. Liverpool and Aston Villa. While Inter Milan knocked out Barcelona. Epic game. I think that's a classic. Bayern Munich and Feyenoord. Now, Rotimi, I'm going to come to you here. Which team do you think faced the tougher parts to the final? Which team had the toughest part to the final?
I mean, as a PSG fan, I am biased, but I would say that it kind of looks like Inter because my biggest fear was the fact that Barca was going to get to the final. So I just kept praying, man, I don't want to face Lamine Yamal in the final because I had started to become superstitious in the sense that, what do you call it? I mean, when Mbappe moved on, he has all my best wishes, my tweets are there, and then I wish him all the best. But it just kept looking like I think the head to head now is like 4-0 or 5-0. So I'm like, no, let Mbappe's quote and unquote bad luck not come and rub off on the PSG side. And so
Yeah.
when Inter did us the favor and then they managed to kick Barcelona out, I was delighted. Now, having said that, I mean, Liverpool topped the whole Champions League group. And so when they did that, everybody was like, no, they are the people to beat. And so we managed to beat them on penalties and then went ahead to beat Arsenal that beat Real Madrid. And so I don't think that, what do you call it, were, what do you call it, pushovers, as it were. I mean, I think we did a good job, but I think the team to beat was Barca. And so because Inter beat Barca, we need to respect them.
Okay. Coco, your thoughts? Who are the tougher parts to the final?
It's always very dicey to say which team had like an easier path to the final, but I would say Inter because the new Champions League format from the end of the like group
Group
stage, we
stage.
already
Yeah.
saw a like the path for each team to get to the final. But even all the pundits, we are trying to pick okay this team and this team who is going to advance, and then but it did not pan out that way. So, but if you look at the teams that Inter have knocked out, Barca would be like the highest seed, even compared to Liverpool. I know Liverpool were the number
Favorites.
one team in the league phase, but if you put both Liverpool and Barca, I know every team would want to play Liverpool rather than playing Barca, like Rotimi rightly said. So I would say Inter faced the tougher route. Maybe if PSG played Real Madrid instead of Arsenal with Real Madrid's European or Champions League pedigree, then you could say, yeah, they had a tougher route, but I think I would give it to Inter.
Okay. So Tolu, when I saw the PSG
Tema
Arsenal
is
first,
muted. I think Tema is talking, but it's muted.
Yeah, it
is
was
Tema
saying
saying something?
something.
Oh, Tema, please
No,
go
I
ahead.
said, I said, I said you can't count Real Madrid this season in Champions League. They
I
are
agree,
there,
yeah.
so you can't
Yeah.
because they barely qualified from the league phase. They almost went
That
out in
was
the league phase. So,
PSG as well.
no. You can't beating Real Madrid is not. It wasn't an achievement, but because you are Arsenal, as in we know go year word.
Coco, please let's not
So
digress. I know where they are coming
so
from,
let's
but
just
let's not
forget that
digress.
Real
We know
Madrid
what they are
thing.
trying to
Okay.
do. Story for another
Okay, no
day.
problem.
They want
Okay,
to
no problem.
manipulate it.
So
Story for
back
another
to the game.
day.
So when I saw PSG versus Arsenal in the first leg, I think the first leg was at the Emirates. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was at the
Emirates,
Emirates.
yeah.
That mean correct? Emirates, good.
Yep.
And PSG scored in the fourth minute or so, 50 minutes. They barely scored that goal. And I saw the way PSG went back to pretty much be conservative. That is so uncharacteristic of PSG. At that point, in fact, before the second leg, the way I saw PSG play, I knew something in me told me that PSG were going to win that tie and go to the final. At that point, I started seeing PSG in a different light. and say, okay, in my mind, I was like, these guys could easily win the finals. Before that game, I never thought PSG was a serious club. That's my opinion. So now, my question to Lou is, at what point in either of the team, any of the team, could be Inter, could be PSG, did you actually see them? At what point did you see and say, oh, these guys are the real deal and they have a good shot at winning the Champions League?
Yeah, looking at the Premier League this season, I'm be honest, the Premier League has been below par. So far, I know I'm not trying to discredit Liverpool's title, but Liverpool as a team, I asked myself if it was the Arsenal of last season putting that much pressure on them, if it was City as normal City putting that much pressure on them, if Liverpool do what
Mm.
they do in the league, I'm not sure those guys go ahead to do it, because
Yeah,
the attack is carried by Mo Salah. And you see when Salah switched off the remaining half of the season, Liverpool went.
they were
And
blunt.
I've
Yeah,
always said this that the beauty between Mane and Salah was either person didn't have to go 38 games on top form. When one carried half the season, the other one switched on the remaining half. And they always exchange the pressure. But looking at this Liverpool team, man, so PSG beating Liverpool, I was not too surprised because, they're good side. What I didn't realize actually was that PSG was so good defensively. And it was when they played Arsenal that I realized how good they were defensively. I
yeah,
thought, oh, they were just an attacking team, but they're actually defensively solid. I saw how fast Mendes, Hakimi, they were getting back. Joao Neves, they were getting back, protecting their box. And what he did, the what's the name of the manager again?
Luis
Enrique
Enrique.
did in the
Luis
first.
Enrique.
Enrique, what he did in that first leg was he
yeah.
caught Arteta off guard, right? Even caught the players off guard. You could see at first when they started playing with the ball, we were shocked, like, what's going on? By the time we gained our footing back, they know Arsenal is a more physical team and they can't battle us physically that much. That was why they retreated and went conservative. And, they knew Arsenal doesn't just have the attack. It is what it
Yeah.
is. We don't have the attack. And they held us to across two legs, put their goals in, and they went through. But when you look at the team, like Inter Milan, I've always been scared of Inter ever since they won their first title recently because Inter can play you depending on what you bring, right?
Mm.
Inter normally between Inter and Arsenal are the teams that concede the least in the Champions League. When they went up against Barcelona, when Inter saw that, oh, these guys are scoring, all right, we're going to switch up and we're going to attack you as well. And Inter being able to score that much goals as well is not the Barcelona forced Inter to play outside of their shell, and Inter matched them toe to toe for it. So, and I think that's where Inter's experience really shows because if you want to sit back, they'll sit back with you. If you want to attack, they will attack with you, and they can play any style you bring.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Damien, at what point did you in any of the team's respective games did you think they were the real deal?
Okay, I think I'm the only one that is still not all that impressed with PSG. With PSG, sorry, I think many of us are carried away because PSG found a way to scale through us, past us now. They didn't do anything out of the ordinary. Everybody knows, someone someone that just started watching football yesterday will also know that once you defend against us now, they can't go through. So they didn't do anything out of the ordinary. They just had to pack the bus, had a quick counter, beat the press or whatever the case might be, and they took their chances because they had like more clinical forwards. But they didn't do anything out of the ordinary. If you watch PSG closely, in as much as guys like Martinelli and guys like Trossard, as still bang average players, they still found ways to pass through Akimi's wing. They had like two clear chances that if it was like just slightly below average forward like Mbemo or Wisa, would they will even get to score those goals. And it's a really different story. So I'm not impressed with PSG. I've never been impressed with them recently. Aston Villa put four past them. So why should I be impressed with a team like that? That considers four goals against Aston Villa. So what are we saying? I think the only guys that impressed me were Inter Milan, and like Tulu rightly said, they can match you depending on what you bring to the table. If you want to defend, yes, they will defend. If you want to attack, we can attack. Baka's logo has always been we can't defend, but we'll outscore you. I'm sure Baka were very, very surprised when they saw someone that said, okay, you want to outscore me, I also try to outscore you also. So I think it's Inter Milan that has, surprised me thus far. During the group stage, they had the best defense till I think the quarterfinal before, they considered like five goals or thereabout against Barca. So it shows that Inter Milan can score, and if they want to sit back, they can also sit back and be pretty
Yeah,
decent at the back.
yeah. Okay, so in terms of star players, I think both teams they have key players. PSG they have Dembele, they have Hakimi, they have Buffon. Sorry, not Buffon. I'm still stuck on Buffon. Donnarumma, right? While Inter Milan they have Lautaro Martinez, they have Dumfries, they have Ian Soma, they have the other guy in front. What's his name? The black guy.
Turam.
Marcus Thuram.
Turam. Yeah, Turam. Thank you. So, Tema, now which individual player, one player, if you had to pick one player that would be a game changer for this final, either for any of the teams, one player, who do you think has that tendency to be a game changer for this final?
Due.
Interesting. I thought you said Dembele. So
No.
why do you say Dewey?
Due.
Why do you say Dewey? Why?
Well, I think this is the season he's announcing himself. And I think this final is the game where people are going to stand up and take notice of that boy. He's a really really special talent. I think Lamine Yamal this season has made everyone all our eyes are on him, and people are not really paying attention to that boy. I've watched a few
Yeah.
games in Ligue 1 this season and even in Champions League, and I've been really, really, really impressed. Since he came into the team, I think he's taking Bakola out of the team, and Bakola is a very, very impressive player. And how old is he? Is he 17 or 18? I
He
think.
was born in 2005. He's
Yeah.
19. I think he'll turn 20 in a bit.
Yeah, yeah, can you imagine? So I think this game is the game where he will really announce himself to the big stage. And going back on what Dami was saying, I was really really impressed with Inter knocking Barca out, but I think that game was a favor to PSG. I think PSG would not have survived against Barca. And because I think this is their year, I think Inter knocking them out was a way for PSG to win this cup. So to answer your question straight and direct, one name, do it.
Okay. Okay. So, Rotimi, you're a PSG fan. This question has to go to you.
Yeah.
You're one of your star players, Hakimi, has played for
Mm-hmm.
Inter Milan in the past. Now, how do you think this affects the game or his game on the night? Does it help him or does it mess him up? What do you really think?
I don't think what you call. I don't think there's any sentiment when the referee blows the whistle for kickoff. I think Hakimi will be as professional as possible and then get the job done because I imagine he wants to win the Champions League and then get the Champions League winners medal and then get whatever bonuses that are signed in his contract that he will get for winning the Champions League. For me, I think personally, the player to watch out for will be Kvaratskhelia because I mean he came in January from Napoli and then he probably wants to prove a point or two to Italian teams. I mean he kind of left in maybe not exactly the best terms with Aurelio De Laurentiis as president of Napoli and all that stuff. So I think that probably will be a very very key wing to watch. I think Hakimi would. I think everybody will turn up. And then maybe what you call it, the weak point might be in defense, in central defense with our captain Marquinhos. That's the only weak link I see in the team. Other than that, man for man, player for player, it looks like what you call it, we can match Inter, and then we even have better players, man for man, player for player. Now, the hope is that we do not get complacent on the night because that's something that can happen. Hopefully, Luis Enrique can get the players to put their heads in the right place and then they don't get complacent. And then, I mean, we can get over the line with a win.
Okay. So this final is about defense versus attack. Even though we've seen that PSG can play the dirty defensive side from their last two games against Arsenal. But we know what's going to happen. We can predict it. It's like a script we've read. We don't know the result. We're not sure of the result, but we know that PSG are going to come possession based and try to control the midfield and try to, while Inter are going to sit back, sit tight, and try to counter. Now, Coco, which tactics do you think is best suited for a final like this? The defensive approach, which is focused on counter attacks, or the possession-based tiki-taka football? You are
Coco, your
muted,
mic is
Coco.
muted. We can't hear you yet.
Yeah.
Did I did Taj mute? Am I
Yeah,
We
you're
can hear
audible
you
now.
now. Go ahead.
okay? I was saying I think everybody would say defense wins championships, and if you have like a very good defense, you would win. But what we always forget is that I always say it's the team that takes their chances that wins. Because that defensive team would have maybe two chances and take the chances.
Yeah.
And then the team with the possession would have some chances, and the opposition goalkeeper would just be having like a blinder game. So on the day, like Uyi said, PSG, they're averaging over 60% possession, Inter 47%. So we know PSG are going to hold the ball. Now, Rotimi said their weak link is their defense. When you think that Inter plays with two forwards, Lautaro Martinez and Marcos Thuram, you know
Yeah.
that PSG central defenders are going to be in for a very tough game. But for me, where the game would be won and lost is on the wings. PSG has two of the best fullbacks, Akimi and Nuno Mendes. They have 3 goals and 4 and 5 assists in the Champions League this season. While Inter has Dumfries and DiMarco on their flanks. So whichever of the two teams can nullify that wing play or get the upper hand on the wing play, I feel will carry the day.
Okay. Yeah. Just to highlight that, yes, I agree that I know people rate Nuno Mendes very highly, but I think he's so bad, so terrible at defending. But that's a topic for another day. So Luis Enrique has won the Champions League before, even though PSG have not won it. He has won it with Barcelona before. Inzaghi just missed out on the domestic title with Inter Milan. Napoli nicked it from them in the last minute to win the title. Now, who do you think, Dami, who do you think has more to prove going to this final? Inzaghi or Enrique?
I think it's more of is I'll say Inzaghi. Inter de Milan doesn't want to go trophyless. You know, they're on the
Mm,
verge of ending the season trophyless. I mean, so they have to bring their A game. 110%. So Inzaghi has a lot to prove. He's likely Inter Milan might likely let him go. You're already hearing rumors from Saudi Arabia and things like
from
that
Saudi
if he
Arabia,
goes
yeah.
trophyless. Unlike Luis Enrique, like I said, I think they're not. He's not under a lot of pressure. They know it's a supposedly rebuilding process since they let Mbappe go, or since Mbappe left. Sorry. So he knows he has maybe a couple of years to still win the Champions League. So Inzaghi is under more pressure than Luis Enrique to win the cup.
Okay. So Rosimi, your team has shifted in the last 1 year or
Yeah.
one plus year from the Galactical styled Madrid-esque team, buying the best proven world-class players in the world, right? Neymar, Messi, and so on and so forth. Thiago Silva, you can name them all, right? And over the last 2, 3 years, they shifted all these players. They've all left. Now, would you say this PSG they shifted to, of course, using like younger players and players that are fit for what they want to do, right? The only star you have going to that, apart from maybe Hakimi, is Dembele. The others are pretty much up and coming, and they are pretty good at what they do. Now, would you say that this current team you have, PSG team, is better than what you had with when you had at the peak of of your powers with Neymar, Messi, and Mbappe? Which would you say is better, this or that
Uh,
team?
I'm a huge Mbappe fan. And then, it was when PSG signed Neymar that I stood to take notice. So I'm a bit biased, right? And then Mbappe has a World Cup, and then has also been to another final in 2022. Neymar, we know who Neymar is. This morning I was reading into this L'Equipe, which is like the Bible for sports fans here in France. And then basically they were rating the popularity of PSG all over the world. And then in places like in Brazil, the popularity has taken a bit of a nosedive. Same for Japan. In Argentina, we're hated because of the way we treated Messi. So for me personally, I would say those ones were a lot talented as individuals, but as a group, we managed to have a team now that is fitted together, where the star is the coach, and then it's not an individual player. I think we have average age of around 24 years old at the moment. And so basically there's this chemistry among the players. They are hungry and then they want to prove something. I think where the turning point was earlier in the season was, what do you call it? When we managed to beat Manchester City 4-2, the league phase. I think that's where the belief now started coming from the side. And then we basically just rode that. And I think we beat Brest maybe 10-0 on aggregate before we now finally beat Arsenal and all the rest and then got to the final. So, like I said, I am a bit biased to the old generation, the generation of Neymar, Messi, Mbappe, for individual talent. But as a group, this group has managed to work as a unit, and then full credit to them. They've gotten to the final. Hopefully, we can now go one better and then win the league and then, win the Champions League and then finally say we have arrived.
Yeah. Okay, so Tema.
There's something I want to add based on.
Oh,
Sorry, there's a notion that
okay,
I
that's
think
okay.
has been going around, and Rotimi indirectly alluded to the fact, like, let's not try to make PSG look like the victim, like they don't have a solid team, and we're going under the notion that they are young. All these guys are expensive players. Let's not because they are not, those world elite
World
names
class
like a
players.
Messi, like a Neymar. They have Ramos that was bought for like 80 million. They have Dembele that was still, it was
They have
supposed on
Dembele.
his way to world class before he had a deep form. They have Kvaratskhelia that was bought for like 75 million. How many people pay
Mhm.
45 million for his 18 years old from Lyon? You have the other guy they bought from Rennes, Bakola. Bakola came from Rennes, I think. Dore came. So these guys, you have Hakimi.
Yeah.
So let's
They
not.
have
You
the
have
keeper,
Donnarumma that
Donnarumma.
was. So this, let's not try and play the. I mean, what we've
Yeah.
been seeing lately, and the notion that is going around, and Pro Team is also trying to hide under the umbrella that they're the underdogs. They have a world class coach also that has won treble before. So PSG, it has a world class team. Either they are 2 years old or they are 50 years old. We don't care. These players are freaking expensive. They've they are freak. Let's get that out. They are freaking expensive, and they've been underperforming. So the idea and the
Yeah.
notion that PSG is not Brighton. They are not even Marseille. This is, yeah, you have a 75 million, 80 million player on the bench, for Christ's sake. Their bench today is, if you put the total fee spent on that bench, will be going close to like 400 million or 300 million. That's what I was
But
saying.
that,
Yeah, Dami, I
but Dami,
agree largely with you.
uh,
So you don't agree with me because you were making
No,
the
no,
sound as
and
if you guys are the underdogs.
no, that's not
Look
what I
at,
was
if you want
saying.
to look at Inter Milan team, they have a washed team. They have Mkhitaryan that could not make it at Man U, could not make it at Arsenal. He's there. You have to know good.
No,
What was the other guy from that was 18 that moved to Inter Milan? You guys are Inter Milan is the underdog. They have an
no,
inexperienced
Inter are the
Inzaghi. How
underdog.
many years does he have under his
No, Inter
belt?
are the
I
underdog
mean,
This
into the
is
as,
first,
finals. I agree.
exactly. So let's not try painting PSG as the underdog. They were just underperforming. That's why.
now, Dami,
Simple.
no,
Okay, so
I've already said that we're the favorites for the final, right? And then to buttress your point, we've spent about 650 million euros over the last two seasons buying players. Like you rightly said, Desiree Doué came for 50 million from Rennes, Bradley Bakola 45 million, Dembele we paid 50 million. We just paid I think 70 million for Kvaratskhelia. So yeah, I agree. And then we even have the luxury of loaning Kolomwani out to Juventus. Kolomwani we bought for 90
Asensio to
million euros,
Milan.
and then he's on wages of around 9 million euros a year. So yeah, I totally agree with you that we are the favorites. Hopefully, we can now deliver on potential, and then people will now say, okay, yes, we finally arrived.
Yeah,
No,
so
but
please
Okay,
next
so
time when we
Tema,
keep
Tema, I think
stressing
Tema has something.
we have
Tema has
young
something to say.
players. I know
no,
we
I
don't so Tema, in case you want to add to what I'm saying.
no,
Anytime
no,
people
I'm
keep
not.
saying they
No,
have young players, say young and expensive. They are two different
no,
things.
no. I
Thanks,
disagree.
Tema.
I disagree with Dami. And
Because
this
he's a
is
Chelsea fan. That's what Chelsea is
no, no,
writing
no,
on. That they
no,
have
no,
young
no,
players, that they
no,
have the youngest team
No,
in
Chelsea,
no,
EPL.
no,
Chelsea
no.
You
have
know,
Chelsea have
Money,
young and
money
useless. Two
cannot buy
different things.
you. Money cannot. Money is not the yardstick to determine
really?
which team. Yeah, yeah. Take it from a
Really?
Chelsea fan. We've spent
Money is not actually.
1.4
I
billion.
agree. I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah. We've
Money
spent
took you to where you
1.4.
were before you went downhill. Don't
No, no,
forget,
no.
Tema.
Take
And
it,
but you
take
can
it
have
from a
money and
Chelsea
not
fan.
spend it
We
well
spent
now. You cannot have money and not spend it
1.4
well.
billion, and our team is still shit. So,
Still needs a striker, needs a goalkeeper.
using exactly using the price of those players to judge the team, I don't think that's fair. But the truth is, PSG, they assembled a team of basically unknowns. Yes, they were very, very good players. And let me tell you something, now, we can't
Rotimi,
even
tell
look
him they
at
are from France. Tell him they were not unknown. Who was
no, no, no.
unknown? Call the
See,
guys that were.
see,
No, Tema, let's speak with facts.
no, no,
Who
wait,
was
let me
unknown?
just finish my point. Let me just finish my point. See, these players were not world beaters like Neymar, Mbappe, or Messi. You understand? And we could even go beyond that. Before Neymar, PSG bought Ibrahimovic, they got Cavani. They've been doing this for a long time. So now, because these players are very expensive, you can't say that they are the same. They are of the same ilk like the players before them. You understand? Now, this is a young team that this man has molded into something, and I think that
Young and
deserves credit.
expensive. Tema,
Let
add
us
that
let us
part.
forget.
No.
Let us
Young and
forget.
So let
expensive.
No,
me,
no, no.
if I can
Let's
win
forget the
here, if I
price
can
now
win
Yamal
here,
because
is 18
we
years
if
old.
I
we
can,
we all
if I
So
can
know
can you
win
we
tell
all
here,
me
know
that
that
we
money.
Emma, will you tell him because Yamal is 18 years old, you say he's young? No, nobody.
Of course,
No, I'm
of
not
course,
talking.
he's
No,
young.
he's
Of
so
young,
course, he's young.
but it had nothing to do. They are great players. You understand?
See,
so
Tema,
when we
Fantastic
are talking
players.
about money, money is not okay. Arsenal, you guys have spent like 800
good.
million.
We spent less than
Let, let's
700 in
let's let's
6
co-
So,
let,
years.
so,
let's
so,
come there.
In
Let's
so,
six
come
yeah,
there.
yeah,
Let's
yeah.
years.
come there.
Let me let me let's give
No,
that
no,
fact.
no,
So
gentlemen,
no.
put it
guys,
You
into
guys have
guys,
context.
spent like
That is
800
what you
million.
spent in 2 seasons. What we spent in 6 years. So
You
money.
guys, Arteta
Tema,
has
it's
spent
easy to
over
make
800
to
million.
bring. See,
You understand?
you
So,
guys make excuses for every team,
Exactly.
every player. Even today, you have said Madrid was not Madrid. We
Because
have
it's
no, no.
Arsenal.
our entire attack injured. Nobody
Coco, let's not
mentions it.
digress from
Nobody.
Champions
Who
League
cares?
final.
okay,
Who
so
cares?
gentlemen,
You
Injury
see,
gentlemen,
who
happens
cares?
everywhere. Nobody
Nobody
cares.
cares. So
Nobody
who
cares.
cares
guys,
that they are
so
18 or
guys,
19 years old?
guys, let me just say this. I agree with what Dami said earlier, and it was a good thing he said it. And I also agree with what Tema said, but a bit of both. Now, Dami, I agree with the fact that you highlighted the fact that Dembele is not an unknown player. In fact, if there's a tier below world class, Dembele is there. Kvaratskhelia is there. Hakimi
Agreed.
is there. Some might even argue that some of these players are world class, but that's fine. I don't think they are world class yet. Donnarumma is world class,
Donnarumma.
definitely world class. Donnarumma is world class. So most of the players in PSG,
Donnarumma that they wanted to pursue, which
in my
no, now
opinion,
stop
I think
now.
he's world class. I think he's world class. And we don't have good goalkeepers again. That's the truth. We don't have good
Uh,
goalkeepers
So how
again.
many good
So in my opinion, Donnarumma is world class, but that's
can I
fine.
say
But
something about
also to agree
Donnarumma?
with what. I'm sorry, you said something. Just
PSG
1 second.
fans were not happy with
Just to
Donnarumma. I
agree.
hope you know that.
I haven't been
Just
the
to
Man U
biggest
fans are
just
not
to
happy
agree
with
with
the
Donnarumma
gear
fan.
either.
Can I
what
It's
say
just
something
Tema
about
said.
emotions.
Donnarumma?
Just emotions.
Yeah, go
Man U
ahead.
fans are not happy with the gear and they got
Let's
Onana.
hear from Rotimi. Is the PSG fan.
So I mean,
Just
what
okay,
do
go
you call
ahead.
it? Now the thing is, I feel like Donnarumma basically just rode his Euro 2021 success when he basically saved Bukayo Saka's penalty and then used it to sign for free for PSG. And so because of that, I was
No,
always
come on.
doubting.
Come
Now
on,
in
no.
2022, he was the one that
Donnarumma was started to be the next best thing. Has he achieved his
yeah, but
potential? No, but don't forget he's still young for a goalkeeper. Let's
I
not get
agree.
carried
Yeah, but
away.
the thing is,
Donnarumma,
he didn't
okay,
deliver on potential in
He didn't
2022.
how
deliver.
many
Last season, he was
can
very
you name
poor.
how many
Very
goalkeepers
poor.
are better than Donnarumma today? How many really in the grand
Now,
scheme of
because
things?
he's proven
Enough
himself
good
over the last
goalkeepers.
3, 4 games, his stock has now risen. But you must remember, I mean, in the first leg against Liverpool, I feel like he was one that cost us that goal. Because I mean, it was 0-0 until Harvey Elliott came in, and then boom, it was one shot he had to save, and then it was that one shot that we considered, and it was 1-0 at
Yeah.
the Parc des Princes. So I mean, I was not happy. Thankfully, he now went and then redeemed himself, and then had a monstrous performance at Anfield. And then I mean, I think he
Mm-hmm.
saved like two penalties, and then we qualified. So
Mm-hmm.
Donnarumma hasn't always delivered on his potential. I mean, in 2022, I remember he cost us against Madrid. In 2023, I think it was against Bayern or something. So I mean, even this
He's been
year,
very poor. He's been very
yeah,
poor.
even this year in French press, there was talk of the Lille goalkeeper. His name is Lucas Chevalier. So basically, there was talk of Lucas Chevalier being signed to replace Donnarumma. Thankfully, now he's chased those demons away. There's talk of now contract extension and all. So I've not been the biggest fan of Donnarumma. Hopefully, I mean, what do you call it? He can shut me up once and for all on Saturday. He should just put in a monstrous performance, just keep a clean sheet, and then boom, we win, and then we're fine. Then whatever happens in the future, he's already won us the European Cup, and so we're good.
Okay, so gentlemen, we have to wrap up now. I'll go to Tolu. Tolu, your score prediction, and so basically, who you think will win and
And
your score
why?
prediction. Then also, why, of course, and also, if it goes to penalty, who do you think would win? So two predictions basically. Tolu.
Yeah, before I answer, just interesting enough the points they were making in terms of Rotimi was saying the PSG team was young, right? Um, I think for me, when you look at a team, I don't care if you're 15-year-olds on that pitch, but when you look at the spine of the team, question is who is Paris Saint-Germain's spine? Donnarumma, Hakimi,
Marquinhos.
Vitinha,
Yeah.
Ruiz, Kivicha, Dembele. These
Yeah.
are not kids. These are experienced top class players. They are not
Bam.
kids.
Tell them
You know,
they stop playing the big
so
teams.
when you have a spine that strong, you can play 15-year-olds with them. It doesn't matter, if they are going to ball. It's just like Barcelona, for instance. You can't just put Yamal alone there, but when he has Lewandowski and Rafinha beside him, you can't call that front line young because if you tally their ages together, it's an old front line. So it is what it is. PSG they are not young to me. My score prediction is I think it's going to be one of those games where that has about 2-3 goals in it. I'm looking to give 2-1 to Inter Milan. And for me, PSG have to win it in 90 minutes. If PSG don't win it in 90 minutes, that's it because Italians just have this incredible stamina. These guys can run like horses. And it was the same thing that happened in Barcelona. I said, do not let these guys get to the extra time. Or if they get to extra time, just forget about it. They will run you down. And that was what happened to Barcelona. By the time they got to extra time, even though Barcelona kept fighting, they just didn't have what it takes
Was
to
done.
beat
Yeah.
Milan physically anymore. So the question is, I know the PSG have workhorses in Vitinha and Joan Neves in the midfield as well, but the Italians they just have stronger stamina, so you cannot take them to the extra time. That's just the
Okay.
thing. But I think the scoreline is 2-1 to Inter.
Emma, your thoughts. Prediction, and if it goes to penalty, who wins?
To be
Tell your mute.
3-1
No, you
PSG.
can hear. I think it's good. You're
We can
good.
hear
You're
you,
good. You're
Emma. We
good.
can hear you.
Yeah. I think it's going to be 3-1 PSG.
Okay.
3-1. And I agree with Tolu as well. If it goes to extra time, Inter wins. So PSG has to. It won't.
Emma, you can't have
If
two.
it goes
You're
to
putting on
extra
the fence.
time,
What does give us your prediction?
no, 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 no.
Um,
If it goes to extra time, I can assure you it won't get to penalties. Inter will win. But
Oh,
my
okay.
my firm prediction for the match is 3-1 PSG.
Okay, that me.
It's so obvious, obvious to the blind. Inter Milan all the way. PSG is a very poor team. I don't know how they got to the final. Their journey to the final was the easiest. They played a Liverpool that didn't have,
Blame your team. Blame your
you
team.
know, the best player anymore. Salah was in decline when they met Liverpool. They met Aston Villa that finished sixth in EPL. They should have even finished worse than that. You know, Playing against McGinn, Asensio that could even make it at their team. Lowly Aston Villa, and Aston Villa put four past them. They played against Arsenal without any attacker. You know, and without our the defensive midfielder, Partey was not available. The three attackers were barely there against Martinelli, bang average, against Saka, bang average, against Merino at the top nine. What were they expecting? Man of the match was their keeper first leg. Second leg,
Dami,
defender was
please
the man of
stop,
the match. What are we
stop
saying?
ranting,
Poor
That's the
stop
type of
prediction, I
prediction,
team
beg.
we look forward to in the final. I can clearly tell you that, guys, that Martinez will be too hot to handle. Turan will be too hot to handle. The Marco will be on his best. Dumfries will have a goal in that match also. And
So
watch out
what's the
for
score?
Barella. The
Damn,
guys
So
in
give
what's the
us
PSG
score?
are not good
prediction.
enough. So all these Dembele, Dure, Neves, Vitina, and then again you see why they are young. Their
Dami,
inexperience will show.
give us a score.
Final score I give it to Inter Milan. They are coming out
How
on
many?
top. 2
What's
0.
the score?
Okay,
2-0. Okay.
he said
Rotimi.
2-0.
Hmm.
Our line with Tema, 3-1. And then I'd even go ahead and then give goal scorers. So Dembele, Kvaratskhelia, and then Bakola.
So those three goal scorers. I owe you $100 if that happens.
Okay.
Coco.
Uh, I think I'll go with PSG. For I don't know if it's sentimental reasons, but this seems to be like the year of the underdogs, like teams that have never
Inter
won
Milan is the underdog. Don't get it wrong. I keep
competitions.
correcting my position. PSG. That's the See, we should have started it first to explain to football fans who the actual underdogs are.
No,
PSG
no,
are just
no. I think
No, but
underperforming.
I
his
Let's
own
think
not
Coco
forget
is
underdog.
getting
the
it wrong.
difference. They
I
are
think
not the
Coco is
underdogs.
getting it wrong. It's not underdogs.
No,
They
he
are going
said
to
underdogs. Tell me,
they
he
are
said
going to
underdogs.
break they are going to break
To break
their
their
The dog.
Champions
yeah
League curse.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not
Okay.
underdogs you
So
meant to say.
I think with that, I'm going for PSG win, and the score would be 2 goals to 1.
In favor of
Okay.
Paris
PSG.
Saint-Germain. Or Germain.
Okay, so my prediction is on the contrary to what most people think. It's not going to be high scoring match. I think it's going to be end. I think it's going to end 1-0 to PSG. Maybe the
Okay.
melee scores, I don't know. But 1-0 to PSG. PSG would win it in 90 minutes. That is my prediction. So we've come to the end of today's podcast. I really enjoyed it. I'm sure you enjoyed it too.
Actually,
It was
actually,
really,
the
yeah.
a few of the last finals have ended 1-0. Actually, if you
Yeah.
look, I think the last three finals have ended 1-0. I think.
Okay,
Oh,
Man
okay.
City, Inter
Okay, so
No,
Milan.
but
I
what
might
did
be onto
Real Madrid
Yeah.
do
something.
Aside
last year?
from
Madrid
Bayern,
was
Bayern
2
I
nil
think
Borussia
last
is
Real
their
Real
No,
normal
Real
Madrid
name.
zero
Madrid
Most
last
won
year.
2
finals
0.
end
Real
1-0.
Madrid Dortmund was 2-0.
Oh,
Tema.
okay.
Real
Yeah,
Madrid
that
Dortmund
apart
was two
from
zero.
Madrid
No,
Dortmund,
apart
which they
from
are
that
normally,
one,
most of recent finals have been 1-0.
it's been 1-0. Apart
Okay.
Yeah,
from that,
Manchester City
Yeah,
Inter
apart
was
from
1-0 too. Yeah,
Bayern Dortmund.
yeah,
Bayern
Chelsea,
PSG now.
Man City
Chelsea,
one
Bayern,
1-0. Yeah, so that's
sorry, Chelsea, Man City,
2021.
Bayern, PSG,
Yeah,
all 1-0.
yeah.
Man
Liverpool,
City Inter.
Madrid, 1-0.
There's been
Man
a
Most
lot
City
of
of
them,
Inter was
1-0.
1-0 too, I think. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
Man
true.
City,
Yes.
1-0. Yeah.
All right, so we'll see what happens on
Hi,
Saturday.
Italia.
Thanks, guys, for joining the
We're
podcast.
coming back for
And
review again, right?
Yes,
please, yeah,
yes,
We'll
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 be
be
come and
back
back.
for
discuss
We'll be
review
back.
Sure,
champions
on
We'll be
league
back.
and
Sunday.
Champions League.
We'll be back on Sunday
And
for
we'll
a
talk
review.
about the
Remember,
underdogs and the
remember,
fake
do it.
underdogs.
Remember, do it.
Day
Okay,
zero
noted.
goal.
Do it, don't
Rotimi,
chop.
you predicted the goal scorer. So I said
3-1.
if you
Yeah,
get
Kvaratskhelia,
the 3-1
Dembele,
and
and
the goal
Bakola.
scorers, yeah, hold me to it.
Mm-hmm.
$100. I don't think
No
that'll happen,
Allah,
Sha.
no Allah.
So
If I get I
thanks
predicted my
guys
goal
for
scorer to Dumfries 2-0.
who cares about you? So guys, thank you very much for joining today's
Oza
podcast.
Italia.
All
All
right.
right, bye bye. Have a nice one.